Let's start with the last point that Gopal made about the time it would take us to carry out trials, fix not only operational issues but the most important issue of security. And also, I think what we should do with the data, the huge amounts of data that will be generated by machine-to-machine communications, interpersonal communications using 5G. How long will it take and how do we go about this? We'll start with Gopal.
I would say that one of the things that we've been discussing with the DOT is to have extended trials, allocating spectrum to all of the operators to make sure that these trials are done properly. What kind of use cases would be required would be something that will emerge from it. But equally, I think that will be the opportunity to understand what are the security risks, what is the security architecture that needs to be created in the industry. And I'm sure that from our side, we'll be very delighted to work with the government to actually answer some of those questions. And this process could take anywhere between 12 to 18 months. So the only thing that I would say is that some of these will need to be studied thoroughly before we plunge into it.
So Balesh, what is the experience you have globally on this?
So globally, there's been a lot of work going on 5G almost forever now. So in Dresden University, Vodafone's been having a 5G research lab. It's been on for, I guess, what, 7 years, 8 years now. A lot of work has happened in various markets, in markets as well. We can take the learnings from all of them as ready modules and incorporate into various things we do here. However, as I was presenting, none of them or many of them are not really relevant for us here in India. So you can take those modules but build the use cases for us. It's going to take time. Again, some of these things are easier said than done in terms of security side, in terms of data side, and the privacy policies have to come in. What is allowed us to be done, where is it to reside, etc. So I guess it is, so I agree with Gopal's estimate of 12 to 18 months for trials, yeah. Should be something like that.
Jay, would you like to share what is the experience in China on this?
Okay, so the personal data protection actually is very important and also very critical. It's very dangerous or it's very scared. Any moment, someone strange call you. That's okay, still people still worry and can accept. But beyond that, really make people scared. That's first. Currently in the industry, especially when we talk about India, also different opinion. Someone said data should be kept in local. Someone said no. In my opinion, I also want to share some personal experience. A couple days back, when we discussed what's the use case we would like to prepare for the coming India Mobile Congress, I give the one idea. Based on my personal experience, every weekend, if you go to the shopping mall, no matter which one, all the people jammed over there for payment. In China, currently already the no people shop. In my community, one shop under my apartment, 24 hours, no people over there. You just go, you buy something. No the attendant over there. So I'm thinking, it's possible. Let's make it one use case. Fees payment in coming Mobile Congress. But my people tell me, Jay, be careful. This is a personal data protection. Very under the conversation, argument. I said, okay, let's forget it. So in brief, in summary, what I would like to suggest for this one, first, let's have clear policy. Let the government put the policy over there, guideline over there. Then we follow that. Under the policy, business can be easy. Otherwise, very difficult. That's what I would like to suggest. Technology currently developed very fast. In China, Arun asked, can you share some experience in China? Currently, the payment already totally different experience from India. India, we use the cash, we use the credit card, we use the PTM. But in China, currently, even the food stand by the street, they use the mobile payment. And this is not enough. This not only happened in Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen. It's happened almost everywhere in China, even in the countryside. Beyond that, Alibaba is working on face payment. This also developed very fast. Thank you.
As Secretary Telecom, as Aruna Sundararajan tried hard to get the ease of way sort of eased for telecom. But this is a state subject. It is not a central policy, it's not a central subject. If some states are more amenable to reason and to rationalizing costs, is it possible for telecom operators to lower the cost for subscribers in those states? This will have a great demonstration effect on other states and incentivize governments to play ball with telecom.
So the state subject that you talked about is about primarily impacting us is the ROW part. It changes, one, the speed, two, the cost of doing fiber. Does it really change the overall cost of creating data, especially in the today's 4G world? FTTH being different. On mobility world, not so much. So if I change it by 0.2 paise or 0.2 or 2 rupees on a 149, 199 rupees plan, is that really going to be perceptible and therefore become an incentive or disincentive? Really not. So good thought. Wish we can do it and demonstrate then the better versus not so good behaviors. But I don't think this one cuts through to make a real perceptible difference, to my mind. Gopal?
Well, it's not just price, something else that could incentivize states to do.
I would love to be in that situation, frankly, because the industry ARPU used to be about 200 rupees 3-4 years ago, and that's down to about 100, 105 rupees. So, I mean, the pricing today in India is so absurdly low, 45 gigs of data and, for 130 rupees with unlimited calling, that we will, be welcoming of a situation where we get to a situation where the cost of business goes down and that can be transferred into customer benefit. I mean, for sure that must happen, but there are more immediate issues and pressing issues here. Having that said, I think I agree with Balesh. I think these are, ultimately capital expenditures that get incurred. It's just that this is an absolutely necessary infrastructure that needs to get created. So yes, it's complicated in a federal structure. Yes, it's complicated because there are different state governments. But it is for the good of the country that finally you need to connect up these towers. Otherwise, we can have the discussions on 5G or even 4G, where your speeds are not able to go beyond a certain threshold, simply because you're not able to carry the traffic back. And you have constraints on how much spectrum or how much you can do through just microwave technologies.
So Jay, in China, how is backhaul managed? Is it according to the province or the county to decide the right of way, or is there a central policy on how this will be handled?
I think in this part, actually, it's very hard for us to benchmark with China. If you talk about the backhaul, you talk about the fiber, you talk about tower, you talk about this one, it's totally different. You talk about the spectrum, it's totally different. When we are in India, we need to think about how to solve our problem. I always ask the one question in the industry. Ask myself, ask my friend. Currently, operator, vendor, subscriber, government, who are happy in this industry now? Doing business easy or not easy? Always not easy, always challenge. But so many stakeholders who are happy now. Even we talk about the industry, I'm not so sure my number is right or not. Last couple of years, 200,000 people lose job are cut. Even the Jew, they show so beautiful number in their report 1 week back. They also cut 20% people. And the whole revenue of the industry, year and year job. But as the nation GDP is reverse up and up. This situation we need to address and manage. But not only by one single part. Government should do something from government perspective. Vendor also should do something from vendor part. For example, I always discuss with my team, right, we need have the reasonable price for spectrum. But the real situation is like this. We can change, good. If we are not able to change, how to handle? We are working some solution from the technology part, right? Such as mass memo, currently the Balesh mentioned so much, and also Delhi circle become the fast network, the whatever, right? This is what vendor can do. Of course, some other parts, what we can do. I always mention, currently is one of the most challenging moments for Huawei. Internally, as I mentioned, we encourage ourselves. Yes, solution always more than challenge, right? If we want to really handle it. My key point is challenge, okay. We work from all the different perspectives, cooperate together, solve it. But this problem have to be solved. Spectrum. Without the spectrum, like the farmer, how can he harvest from no land? Right? How can you expect the farmer can contribute a lot without the land? Or maybe with the very high tax, he even cannot serve his family. This is the point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Gopal said the industry's debt is currently 4 lakh crore. If you assume an average interest cost of 10%, and if you use your entire EBITDA to service debt, you will need 40,000 crore of EBITDA for the industry to service just the debt. Since this is not likely to happen, it is inevitable that your tariffs go up. Now, I mean, this is so rational, so clear to any outside observer, even a complete layman like me. Now, how can we go about creating a situation where it is sustainable for the industry to start raising tariffs? After all, we need the service, we need the industry to be viable, to be growing, to be investing in technology, not just in equipment, and to service the growing population of India. And if this disastrous low ARPU is creating complete unviability for the industry, we need to change this. So how should we go about this?
I think it's, obviously a function of the competitive dynamic, as is true for any industry. I think we've always maintained that the current tariff structures and the tariff that is operating today is unsustainable for many reasons, for the reasons that you alluded to in terms of the financial health, but equally also that, this is at $1.50 of ARPU, even for comparable markets, this is absurdly low. And by the way, if the ARPU just goes from $1.50 to $3, which is not a lot, which is where we were 3 years ago, that will totally change the trajectory of the industry. I would say the one silver lining in all of this is that if you look at, I've been in this role for the last 6.5, 7 years. When I came into the industry, there were 10 operators, and the spectrum that we had was fragmented across all of these operators, and it was not a vibrant industry because you had spectrum scarcity with the larger operators, lots of spectrum and no capex on the smaller operators. I think that's got sorted. There's enough spectrum for everybody. There are 3 operators. You've got 1.3 billion customers to serve. The industry structure, and 3 plus 1 BSNL, the industry structure is absolutely sorted. And for a market as large as ours, 3 equal-sized operators, vibrant industry, is a very, very healthy outcome. But you're right. I think this current situation is unsustainable. You know, let's see where this goes because it's a function of competitive dynamics.
So, time up? Easy question to answer, the time's up. So industry structure, Gopal is absolutely right, 3+1 for 1.3 billion people. I think it's an optimum structure to have arrived at. You will have sufficient competition at all times. At the same time, hopefully, sufficient investments coming because there's sufficient return being created in the mid to long term. Right now is where the challenge is. We are defying all the laws of economics because you got unlimited demand and you got limited capacity and you're selling it below price. That doesn't kind of get explained at all. But of course, then it's being done for beyond economics, and I hope, therefore, good sense prevails at some stage. All operators, I repeat, all operators are burning cash. And therefore, and each one is under huge stress on the balance sheet. If investments have to happen way forward in things like 5G, huge amount of investments are required. And therefore, the balance sheets have to turn around. Unless the P&L turns around in itself, balance sheet can only be artificially turned around by injecting things that we're trying to do. Ultimately, P&L can only turn around. So we're all trying to do all kinds of things on cost, which is great. We need to manufacture cheaper. But unless the top line goes up, it's not going to happen. I think everybody's under the same amount of stress, and therefore it's a matter of time to my mind. But Gopal's right, it's a competitive dynamics. And I don't think you or me or anybody can do anything except hoping on that front that good sense prevails.
Yeah. So one last question, very brief answers. 5G is not primarily about telecom operators. It is for the users. As you said, many use cases will evolve from the ingenuity of its users. But what is the effort by the telecom operators to get industry to think about what use cases could possibly come up? More things could migrate to the cloud. I mean, it'll be easier to run things off the cloud and run your stuff. But is there any systematic attempt to put heads together to generate these kind of ideas? Jay, what is your opinion?
Yes, I believe 1 year back when we discussed the 5G trial with the DOT, we get our understanding. Beyond the 5G, they have another very, very high expectation about the 5G ecosystem use case. So after this 1 year, we also very deep dived for this insight. Currently, my personally thinking is, yes, 5G ecosystem and the use case is very important. But more important is about the mechanism to develop 5G ecosystem and startups. This is more important. You know, if we talk about something out of India, first we talk about Korea. Korea, because of the 5G, at the beginning, he put the 5G. Currently, is already more than 10,000 BTS 5G. They have more and more the use case in the different industry based on their industry, the real situation, such as in the harp, in the manufacturing industry. This year in the Mobile Congress in Barcelona, only the second half, I already understand. Asia country is already running far away.
Yeah.
This is about the Korea.
Yeah.
And currently in China, sorry, I take a couple minutes more. Currently in China, government don't worry about the use case. Government only give the simple target. By end of this year, how many BTS you operators have to deploy? And how many BTS end of next year you have to deploy? The ecosystem, the startups, they will grow with some other government support, So by this way, I also think India the unique strengths. We have the many young population. We have very strong startup entrepreneur. All the pioneer from US, China, India.
Yeah. Gopal.
So we have our confidence.
Yeah.
I would say that, like I said, I think 2025, the projections are 7% of devices, so it's still some time for this to happen. But what we are doing is that it's not necessarily restricted to 5G because, you know, as a telecom company, you're at the center of an ecosystem. You have a platform and everybody else is kind of around you. We have set up a laboratory in Bangalore. It's called Airtel X Labs. We're working with a whole range of startups across several domains. And it's a large team that we're now building there. We've set up a tech stack which will enable partnerships to happen with us at really, really very, in a very easy way. And we'll talk a little bit more about that over the next couple of months. We're already working with a whole bunch of players across content, financial services, small startups in the IoT space. So this is all to really try and create the ecosystem in terms of making the business more, making our role more central through partnerships in order to solve customer problems. That said, there is going to be a lot more that will happen outside our domain, and that is the way it will be, and that is the way it must be.
Ditto and more, but I don't have to repeat what he said. Therefore, I would use the minute that you're giving me on behalf of the industry to thank Aruna. It's been an excellent tenure, Arunaji, and we will remember you for very balanced, very approachable, very positive. There's a lot you've done in terms of even the change of regulation, change of principles applied to those. Yes, we now see an industry which is, to my mind, spectrum surplus from spectrum scarce, and that isn't easy. You've done a lot even on the subject that he was talking about, the ROW. Yes, there are some states that have moved and there are some not, but at least centrally, you've really worked towards. You've been a genuine, true partner to the industry, and thank you so much for being here.